Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our second day of our Holiday Dream Team event. We are so excited on behalf of all of us at the Retail Bakers of America. Thank you so much for being with us on our second day. We're really excited about Chef Lisa coming in and giving us a hand. And she's at the beautiful CIA campus in Hyde Park, which is always gorgeous. So I am going to pass it off to Marissa, who is our certification director, and she will give you a little update and bio for Lisa. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We are so excited to have Lisa here, and someone that specializes in artisan breads who can really share her talents. Lisa is a graduate of the CIA. She has a vast amount of experience. She worked at Maison Kaiser in New York City. She worked on the West Coast at a big commissary as the head baker, where they produce products for places like Trader Joe's. And we connected with Lisa through the RBA during her time as the bakery manager at the American Test Bakery at Revent Incorporated in New Jersey. Now she is a chef instructor at the Culinary Institute of America, and we are very grateful for her to share her experience with us. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you, RBA. I'm very happy to be here. As Marissa mentioned, I've been with bread for quite a long time, and I could talk day and night about bread. So one of my favorites, though, is this bread in particular, is Viennois. So I thought it would be very interesting to do a little talk in PowerPoint and show you that this dough has so many varieties. It's so forgiving. It's very easy to make in the Hobart mixer, or if you have a beautiful spiral mixer, whatever is easiest. And you can just change all the flavorings. And I know around the holiday time, it gets very hard to, okay, well, I have to make this. I have to do this. I have to do all these breads and all these flavors. But if you keep your flavors, you have your apple pie. Well, why not put some apple in the bread? You cross-utilize, use up your product. People love pecan cranberry, walnut, raisin. Well, guess what? This bread holds all of those flavors very nicely, along with chocolate, cocoa, anything and everything. This bread is very versatile. So in the PowerPoint slide I have for you, you have the basic formula of the dough. So everything in our baking world is based off of flour. So starting right away with 100% of flour. I prefer to use high gluten flour because there is more butter and milk powder. So high gluten, can I use bread flour? Absolutely. Can I use all purpose? Absolutely. The biggest thing here to keep in mind is your hydration. So hydration, I mean my water. So my water started at 55% of my flour. I would end up probably dropping down to about 52% if I was starting with a weaker flour, meaning the all-purpose flour. I have made this recipe today. I did mix it with high gluten. I made it yesterday with plain bread flour. Works just fine. I did not have to adjust anything. Any questions on the formula? Obviously send in. Let me let Marissa know. It's very, I don't know how else to explain it except simple. Viennois is another word for pain au lait, or milk bread. So your fancy white bread. And it's so simple to change the flours. Today we're talking about changing the inclusions. If you notice at the very bottom, I wrote sour. So I have been growing for the last 5 years or so. A beautiful little sour baby. And his name is actually Chef Baby K. My students named it. So he's been with me for 5 years. So I always have sour on hand. I'm not sure if you do. If you don't, it's not a problem to leave out. Or maybe you have old baguette dough sitting around, or old Italian bread. No problem. As long as it's not higher with egg and more butter than our percents that we're using, you can just put that extra dough in there. That's just flavor. This dough I mentioned when we get to the mixing method and everything, this can sit overnight. So you get more flavor, more fermentation, just more of a little kick by using the sour to help it start off. But if you're not using it and it sits overnight, you're kind of getting the same flavor intensity from that sitting overnight. So right away, I had my sour, no big deal. The next slide, you have the mixing method. Very straightforward, it's straight dough method. I mixed this morning. I put all my liquids in the bottom of the bowl. I had such a small amount, so I used my normal 12-quart mixer with the dough hook, put it on low, and I just watched till it was homogeneous. Yes, my butter went in because my butter is not high enough that I need to develop my gluten first. So it's perfect to just put everything in the mixer except your inclusions. So today I just added some white chocolate and dried cherries. I'm a huge lover of white chocolate in this bread. To me, this is a dough that ends up tasting like a beautiful glazed donut, but in bread form. So it's one of my favorites to use white chocolate. I held that back along with holding back the sour cream. Now, if you don't have sour cream, don't use it. It's absolutely fine. Sour cream just adds a little bit more richness, a little bit of a little zing at the end. You can use creme fraiche, you can use yogurt, anything, it works, or just leave it right out is absolutely fine. Your dough hydration will still be good. From that, when I got to my intense mixing, I then took it off the mixer. I put all my inclusions on top. So I added my white chocolate, I added my cranberry, and then I just mixed it on low. By mixing on low, I'm not trying to tear my dough apart or to beat it more. My development was already there. So I just wanted the inclusions to be added. Now, let's say I wanted to make chocolate and I wanted to add cocoa powder and chocolate chips. So what I would do first is I would start with my cocoa powder and I would incorporate that in the mixer. Why would I do that first? It's powder, it's drier. You want to work that into the dough so it's nice and smooth in one color. The minute I start to incorporate my chocolate chips, it's actually ending up tearing the dough so it can't gather the cocoa back in. So you want to get anything that you're using spices in the dough first. My little trick when I do that, because I've now, let's say I've already added my sour cream, I already have my hydration, my dough is beautiful, I check my development. I like to kind of take a little bit of vegetable oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, any oil that has very, very minimal flavor. And I kind of spread a little bit into my mixing bowl. Once I have my cocoa in there, because cocoa is dry, I now have to add just a very little bit of wet to grab it from around the mixer. And it gets incorporated very easily. Then I would add my chocolate chips. Stop. I took it out. It normally rests for about 30 minutes, give or take, depending on your final dough temperature. My room today is extremely cold because I haven't turned on any of the ovens, so I'm actually at 64 today. So I do keep my doughs covered whenever I am in between working with them because I don't want to skin. It's just very dry in here. So I use plastic wrap. You can use a wrap cover. You can use a trash bag, whatever is easy for you, or I know some buy large plastic rolls and just cut out rolls of sheets of plastic. That works too. On the next slide, you'll see I gave you just some inclusions. So there we go. So inclusions meaning variation, your flavor. Well, we said this is pain au lait, milk bread, so it's already kind of sweet. Well, yes, I absolutely could go savory. I kind of stuck with sweet today for our holiday theme. So I have the white chocolate cranberries, white chocolate cherry, white chocolate cranberry, cardamom orange zest. These are just a few. I actually had on my little display over here yesterday, students went wild for me and they actually made a gingerbread spice. We've done pumpkin spice. I wrote down the pistachio is one of the best ones with a little bit of pistachio paste and pistachio in there, and the white chocolate is absolutely killer. And then you put extra pistachios on the top. It's just a few, but this dough, sure, I can go savory. I've had the students actually put caramelized onions and bacon in it. So good. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Boursin cheese. It's a spreadable cheese. Guess what? You put Boursin cheese in this and it tastes like cheesy bread. Just super simple. Whenever I start, I wrote in there that I start off the flour weight. So my inclusions for today, the white chocolate and the dried cherry, I took 20% of my flour. So my flour today, I just mixed 3 kilos. So I have 3 kilos here from the formula, being 1 kilo is 100%. So 20% of my 3 kilos, I did half white chocolate, half dried cherry. You like more white chocolate, change it up and go crazy. Go more white chocolate. You want milk chocolate instead, dark chocolate. You want to make your own. I put in there a mixed fruit bread because I know we all know fruit cake is around this time and going into the holiday. Make this into a large loaf, and it's the best, very sliced thin, toasted, best fruit bread ever you'll have. There's just so many. I didn't put on there cocoa, but I mentioned to you cocoa and chocolate chip. I have done also turmeric in here if we're going to maybe change it up and you're doing a brunch for the holiday with some smoked salmon and creme fraiche. Turmeric is a great offset and the color is very vibrant. Dill, any herbs, you can totally go savory on this. But I figured for us being RBA bakers, we're going sweet. Why not just go crazy? And white chocolate dry cherry has just been absolutely one of the best that I've seen around and really, really popular. In the next photo, I just have a little bit of the photos from one of my places in the city. On the far right and then left, you can see the Viennois. So we did a little shape of oblongs with some scores. This was very, very, very popular amongst children. Adults love it because it's just one piece. The child can just hold on to that one piece and it's mess free. So your flavors, it's portion size, it's easy. I don't have to worry about cutting bread and more bread for the holidays and more wrapping. You can just rest it out, display, sell it by the piece. With me here on my lovely little display over here that I set up for you, that's pretty much the PowerPoint slide because I'm going to want your questions as we go through this. I made a little snowflake out of our dough and then just took some white chocolate and did some piping of a nice snowflake. It has 6 cuts. I actually did this cuts with a scissor, not a long. I just went right in and I cut 6 beautiful sides and then proofed. When it came out, we just piped on a little white chocolate. Could I change up my colors? Absolutely. We made little snowmen. So you can go crazy in regards to how much you want to decorate these loaves of bread or how much you might just want to put a basket together, put it out on display, add one, grab one, or even make the snowman and you can give as a decorative kit for a child or for a present to pipe, build the snowman's face. So very simple, very easy to make ahead of time. So what I have in front of me here to just go into it, I kind of started the steps. So I mixed my dough and it's been sitting here. I just wanted you to see that it's very smooth. It's the texture, very intense. I'm gonna kind of just turn around and bring my camera a little bit closer so that you can really see that in there because it's a little bit hard with that, how far away I was. I just want you to kind of see, it's very smooth. My inclusions are in, it's very soft. I actually have no flour on the table at all of any of this dough. It's just not needed. It doesn't stick. If you mixed it properly to that nice intensity, it doesn't stick at all. So I have my dough here. I divided it in pieces on the side. I made for my little snowman. My snowman bodies are 120 grams and my snowman's head is 50 grams. So the other ones I have here is 150 grams for my little, I call them little sticks, little logs. Yes, I did bake them. I have them sitting over here. I wanted you to be able to see that. If you don't have a baguette mold to bake in a convection oven, because I know there's the wire little trays that you can get for your baguettes, for your hoagie rolls, for anything. It's kind of nice because they help hold the shape very nicely. And then you don't have to worry about either too much spreading, but it just helps a little bit. But I didn't have that available to me. So I put them right on a sheet tray, no big deal, seam down, and nice little egg wash. So I want you to see, I did this yesterday. Put it in the fridge, not covered, just with my egg wash. And I had scored them yesterday too. So that allows your score to open up a little bit, which I think when they bake off, kind of looks very, very nice, like the little candy cane stripes. Now, Can you color it? 100%. Maybe you want to put a small little bit of food coloring. That's up to you. Totally acceptable. I know it kind of looks, oh, it's so much brown. That's what bread is. Bread's supposed to just, it tastes delicious. You can make all the variations you want, but it's just that you know what it is. That's what I love. So when you can look at it and see the fruit or see the vegetable, the chocolate or anything, I can see the gingerbread spice in what we did yesterday. It's just it's nice to know that it's fresh and it's made right. Any questions so far? I know I threw out a lot of information before I show you some shaping of this.
So I just wrote it in the chat that if anybody has questions as we're going, that they can write it in the chat, and then I'll come on and give you those questions. But not so far, so thank you.
Thank you. I know my own self, I tend to just talk, so I have to stop myself. So with the dough, for the loaves here that I have, I take my 150, I just did a very light pre-shaped round, let it sit for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then I took it, I flipped it over. I used my hands to just very lightly degas. And then I kind of roll it in literally like a baguette, as if I was shaping it, just a lot stronger. And then almost, I guess you can say, batard. But it's such a small amount, so it's not, you don't have to worry about being fat and then smaller. Very even log. And right on my sheet tray, egg wash, score. Now the score that I have, if you're familiar with any of the scores in bread, because everything's been given a beautiful French name, we all know that. It's called saucisson, which is sausage. And it's just lots of little cuts onto the top. Doesn't matter how far apart, doesn't matter what angle you're at. It's just lots of little tiny cuts right on the top, which is what gives you that decor on the side. So it also then, you can see where you've egg washed versus where you haven't, which causes the darker color for when you bake. Then for my beautiful little snowman, I just took the nice rounds, the 120 grams, the 50 grams. I round them out, nice and smooth. Put my head on my snowman. So I know I was thinking about it. Could I put it on top? Well, he falls over. His head's a little bit heavy for his body because we want to make sure that you can then decorate it afterwards. So baking right next to it, absolutely fine. I actually did give it a try to cut it because this dough, like I said, being very forgiving. What if I messed it up right now? What if I misshaped it? Take it back and re-roll it. You don't have to wait. You don't have to worry about it. It's very, very forgiving. Sometimes I like to cut it, like I mentioned for my snowman and my snowflake. Take the same weight of the 120 and I cut 6 times. I'm actually going to just quickly grab, I'll cut it with my bench knife to show you. What if I don't have a scissor close? You've got to make things work in the bakery world, which I'm sure all of you know. So I take my bench knife, I just cut it. Cutting all the way through, but I'm leaving the middle. And I cut it 6 times. The student the other day was very, very adamant that the snowflake has to have 6 cuts. It just, it can't be a snowflake without 6. So I'm gonna follow what he taught me and I'll make it with 6 and then bake it. Now you're probably saying, oh, I have a huge dried cherry in there. It's beautiful. If you want, always, sure, could I move it? But I think that just lets the customer know what's in there. And what do we say? Each snowflake is not the same. So the fact that you have a cherry on the top here, I have more cherries on the side versus on the top here. It's about how the divider, how the person making it, we're artists in here. So I enjoy seeing that it was not free-formed, or I'm sorry, I enjoy seeing free-formed, not that it's just a machine cranked it out. And then the other last final shape that I have in front is just, I made rounds and I just cut them with a little cross in the middle. With my long or small paring knife, I just cut them. Egg washed and cut, proof, bake, and I get little 4 points coming up. Could I put cocoa powder on it? Could I put powdered sugar on it? Could I ice it, drizzle it? Absolutely, you can go wild. But I think simpler is better, so I tend to just put them out, see what sells, give samples, because when people hear something Viennois, I don't know what that is. That's totally different. That's weird. Lait. What the hell is pad? Well, why can't we just call it milk bread? You can call it anything, but I think when you give free samples or you let somebody know what it is and you start to sell it or put it with a sandwich or your soup, they start to taste it. Oh, that might be really good as a snack by itself. Oh, that'll go good with my cheese when I get home. It's a fan favorite, especially for kids, because there's a little bit of sugar in there. So that always helps. But I just hope that you got to see that there's so many different things to do with this dough. And if you have any questions or you're not sure about the formula or the mixing or the inclusion amounts, by all means, let me know. Those are just starting points. So if you want to change the inclusion amount to 25%, 30%, go for it. It's totally based on your taste. It's what you want. You know your market, you know what you're selling. Maybe that area really likes a lot more kick. Well, when I do cocoa powder, yes, I'm going for color, but you have to think about it. Cocoa powder has more acidity, so it also slows down the yeast. So how much do I really want to put in there? So that's why I sneak in those chocolate chips. Because then, oh wow, that really broke it up. Oh yeah, I got a real big taste of those chocolate chunks, more than the cocoa. With cocoa, cinnamon, cardamom, the turmeric I mentioned, I just want to throw out there that I normally start with 10 grams of my spice or herb mixture, whatever I'm using, 10 grams per kilo of dough. Now, why do I do that? Is because the flour, if I match the flour weight at that point for cocoa, well, flour doubles when I add the water to it. So I need to make sure that I have the final product enough cocoa in there. So 1 kilo of flour, I always say 1 to 2. So 1 kilo of flour is 2 kilos of dough. So for this, if I was adding 10 grams, I told you I made 3 kilos of dough here. So I would start with that 3 became 6. 6 kilos of dough total is what I have. I would add 60 grams of cocoa to start. And then build from there. 60 grams for you, oh, that's nothing. It looks too light. Go to 12, go to 15, and build it up how you like it. I just always, again, like I mentioned, add that at the very end so that I don't hinder the gluten development, and I'm really getting that yeast and salt and sugar mixed together to get it going. I thoroughly enjoyed making Viennois today for you. I hope if there's any questions, please share them with me, and hope you enjoy your holiday time from Viennois.
Lisa, Marissa had a great question. One of the things that our retailers are doing so much more are take-home kits. They're, they really kind of kicked off during the pandemic, and I think parents and kids and everybody kind of loves that idea. And I know retailers, that's such a good selling point. It's such a grab and go kind of thing. So Marissa's question is, what would you recommend in a take-home kit as like decorations for like your snowman or maybe your snowflake or things like that?
Beautiful question. So I would probably put at least 1 or 2 snowmen in there, maybe 1 or 2 snowflakes, depending on if you want. Maybe it's a kit for 2, kit for 1. I would probably also put in there a little bit of icing. We know chocolate is gonna, oh, how long do I put it in the microwave for? Or did I burn it? You don't know. So if you have a little bit of royal icing even, and the person at home just has to kind of mix it together. Already colored, of course. I mean, we want to stick with our traditional white, red. You want to put green out there, maybe a little orange for the snowman's, nose. Go wild. And I just put that and some royal icing, maybe a few sprinkles. I have some white chocolate chips in there for his buttons to go down. You can use cherries, whatever you feel. And you're giving that to them. I would also say a little piping bag. Now, for me, as us, we're in the, we're baking. We make little pomades as we're working. But maybe a piping bag, or even very simple, I can promise you a lot of people at home have a Ziploc bag, and in your directions, take that beautiful Ziploc bag, take that sandwich bag, put your icing in the corner, cut the tip off, and you can make a little nose and smiley face. And it's very nice for getting very small arrows for your beautiful stuff like that. So very good question. And again, you can go wild with this. Theme it, snowman in Hyde Park Wonderland, or snowman out in Miami. So it can go wild with the options for that.
Sorry, I had myself on mute. You think I'd learn after a year and a half of doing it? Sorry. Thank you, Lisa. Is there any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can just throw it in the chat box. Thank you for all the prep for this too. How much do your students love when you have to do things like this that they get to help with?
You know, they just enjoyed laughing at it so much, because they were, oh my God, I didn't think we get to be artistic with bread. Oh, I thought we just had to always make them round. Oh, I thought we always have to follow a shape. No, you don't. You have to think about, if this is where you focus your life on, you have holidays almost every month. You have to, what can I change? Okay, well, I always do a baguette. Could I make it into a heart for Valentine's Day? Absolutely. Could I make an arrow? Yes. Clovers, I mean, you have to be able to have fun with it. So they just, their eyes kind of opened up like, I didn't know we could do that. Oh, I didn't know chef lets us do that. Well, you're learning. So yes, we're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. They had a little bit too much fun. She even drew little smiley creases on the snowman for me. I had no idea. He really has a personality now. So they absolutely are very happy, and it showed because I was very happy. It's one of my favorite things to work with besides baguette dough is this dough, because of how forgiving. You can show shaping over and over again. If you're training staff, make this. It's the best thing. It just folds really well. And then you can always put this in the next dough for tomorrow. So that's one of my favorite things to show is you don't want to waste this flour, this butter, all of this costs money. And if I can use it, cross-utilize it, turn it into, if I even made just plain old loaves of bread, sliced up, okay, croutons, people go wild, stuffing, anything. I'm a huge fan. I like the fennel and cranberry. If you want to put that in here, and you toast that up as croutons or sliced toast bread, delicious.
And I think you're completely right when you say, a lot of our retailers, we tend to do like the cakes and the cupcakes and the cookies, and that's holiday. But I really feel like if you are giving something special and something different, an artisan bread or a fun bread, like that is really like such a great gift for a retailer to put out, again, as a grab and go. Such a great idea. I love it.
One of the all-time bestsellers for me in Manhattan was the pecan cranberry.
Yum.
Oh, it can only be walnuts. It's pecan season. It's the fall, so pecan cranberry, go wild over, and it's so simple. Simple corn. We make a very nice simple corn roll here. Not a corn bread, but a corn roll, and it's nice. It has chunks of corn in it, corn meal. It's just you get it all the texture. So it's kind of the silent sleeper is all these breads that you can do with this to help boost your basket, or get a dozen rolls, get your pie. You got the beginning of your meal started and the end of your meal started. So that's one of my favorite things.
Right, exactly. Well, are there any other questions? I don't want to keep doing the chatting myself. Sorry, Lisa, but
Lisa, I was just going to ask, I know you said you can really put any inclusions you want in that bread. And you had mentioned the pecan, but what would you say are like if someone was going to make 3 different variations of this bread, like what are your top 3 flavor combinations to use?
So in all honesty, one is always going to be plain. That's just, I like to taste that. My morning breakfast for about 5 years was one plain Viennois with raspberry jam. So it's like all-time favorite. I think certain people, any people just want plain. Try it out. I say the pecan cranberry because the nuts, the texture of it, cranberry is bigger at this time, so you want to use fresh even, tossing them in some flour before putting them in. Dried is just what I have more on hand than I have fresh right now. And then honestly, last, you gotta please people with chocolate. So I feel like that's just something, I haven't tried it yet, and I've been kind of tweaking with it in my brain to put a formula together to take this and do like a chocolate mint, because you don't think that, but because this dough is, it leans more towards the sweeter side, with a little bit of peppermint and chocolate chip. Now, I'm not a fan of turning fake into, like I mentioned, food color is okay. I would tend to go with a paste of some kind. So yes, I tend to go pistachio. But you turn it, or you get a little bit, we're not talking huge in regards to the flavor of it, but you then get the color. People love chocolate. It is the, oh, I didn't know I could have this for breakfast and brunch that next day or later on. And it's just one of the biggest, one of the biggest sellers for me is chocolate. I'm a nut person and people love chocolate. So that's what I end up seeing.
I love it. There's really actually nothing better than warm bread with chocolate in and a little butter on the top. I mean, that's truly like that's my like ideal, make my mouth water, like that is the best.
I'll tell you, if you really haven't tried, I would tell you, if you try savory and put, like I mentioned, the boursin in there, or even any kind of soft spreadable cheese. I like the boursin garlic and herb because it's garlic and herb, or there's an herb and butter roasted, like it's a different, they're different ones, or chive. I believe one is chive and onion. That's what it is. And you make a loaf out of it, slice it thick. It's so as sandwich bread, or as your side for your leftover turkey or your leftover ham. People don't think about it, but this bread can totally go savory and it holds its own. You don't taste that sugar after when it has a sweet.
When you're adding something that's not like strictly an inclusion like that, if you're adding like the boursin, how much would you recommend? What is the kind of guideline for?
What is the shelf life, or how much?
So what is the guideline for how much to add if it's not like a strict inclusion, you know, it's not like a solid inclusion?
I started with actually 20% when I did this a few weeks ago with the boursin, and it was like you just taste it, but you smell it, because the smell is always stronger on those cheeses with all the herbs. I recommend you actually push it to 35, almost 40% boursin to really taste it. Because smell, even when I did white chocolate, the gingerbread spice, the whole bake shop fills up with that smell. And then you taste it and you're like, I get a little bit. So that's why I start with 20 and I build on 20. And boursin, I would probably actually go to 35 and then build on 35. The only thing that would happen is your fermentation might just take a little bit longer because you added a little bit more fat. But other than that, same simplicity, make it the day ahead, shape it or make it ready that morning, and it's in the proof box, and then bake it later.
Very good. Lisa, thank you so much. You're always so much fun to have on these, so thank you. And we're glad you're at the CIA, and we always say, like, when we find a good volunteer and a good instructor, we never let them go. So welcome to the team.
Oh, thank you. I don't plan on going anywhere, so I appreciate that. And if there are questions regarding bread, this in particular, anything, please always reach out to the RBA and get in contact with me. I'd love to help.
And if you're okay, Lisa, what we'll do is everybody who signed up for today's event, we'll send them your PowerPoint so they have all of your slides and the formulas and things like that. That would be great for them. So
awesome. No problem.
Thanks, Lisa. Have a wonderful holiday if we don't see you. And thank you everybody who's on the event today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Thank you.